I wanted to respond to a bit more personal question that I received recently. Hi, everyone. This is R.A. Sweeney with Ask and Response with R.A. So recently I had someone reach out with some questions that aren't really the type of questions that I normally address on this series. But I really wanted to address these because there's, I don't know, just it really kind of hit my heart, and I wanted to address the questions a little bit. So I've been talking with this person privately, and obviously not going to share their name, but wanted to at least kind of address the big concept. So really what was going on is this person reached out because they there's so much just talk about the Bible and Christianity and faith and different things in our community. Like, we're just bombarded with it all the time. And the thing that really bugs me is there's so much like, you've been reading the Bible wrong if you don't understand that. Like, that's such a terrible way to go about sharing God's word, exploring the scriptures, any of that stuff to cut other people down or to tell them that they're doing things wrong. There's a lot of bad opinions out there too. Here recently, I saw someone had written a whole article series based on a difference in word choice in the Bible, that when you look at the Hebrew, the difference wasn't there. And so they built this whole theology based off of, in this passage it uses this word, and in this passage it uses this one, so they're not related. And I'm like, it's the same word in Hebrew. Someone saying like, oh, well, you've been praying the Lord's Prayer wrong by doing it this way. And I'm like, literally, there's so much church history from the early church saying that this is the right way to do it. And so there's all this stuff where we're just being bombarded by people trying to be edgy, trying to like catch your attention and lead you down different paths, and all of it destabilizes. It prevents people building strong faith, or at least works against it. If I tell you you're wrong about everything you believe, you're going to question everything you believe, and you're not going to have confidence. And if I tell you that like the church has been doing this wrong forever, then you're starting to lose confidence in the church and in traditions, which maybe some of those things we should, but there's just so much stuff trying to change our minds about things and catch our attention by making us feel like we're wrong. And I need you to tell me what the right thing is, that so many people, I think, are just losing their faith because I don't know what to believe anymore. And that's really what these questions were, is like, hey, I'm a believer, but I feel like I am losing my faith because there's just all this stuff coming up, and I don't know how to deal with these things, and it's too complicated, and I don't understand, and it's making me question my faith. And I might not be perfectly representing this person who reached out, but at least that's kind of the general like realm of questioning that I see a lot, is just this: everything's making me question so much that I don't know how I hold on to my faith when people are poking holes in everything that I thought I believed. And Christianity is not a faith that's based on you having the answers. It's based on a relationship with a person, with a deity. And so it's really sad to see people who are just like, I don't have the answers, and so maybe I should just give up. But I completely understand, because how could we not get there in our culture? And so they'd asked me, like, what do I do? Like, how do I deal with all of this stuff? And they'd ask some personal questions about, like, specifically I'm wrestling with this or that. And there's always room to address the questions. But I told him, I was like, if I address these, 2-3 questions that you asked, you're going to come back tomorrow, next week, next month sometime, and you're going to have a whole new set of things that people have been poking holes in, and you're going to be right back where you are. Let's build some foundation. So I really wanted to address, like, what foundation can we stand on? And let's start there. Then we can start answering the individual questions, if you even care to dive into them. Maybe you won't even be stressed out about them. So I shared kind of how I build my foundation. And so I mentioned, like, facts are not a good place to build our foundation. Like, do I know the Bible? Can I answer the questions? Do I have a proper understanding of all the facts? Because there's always going to be things that we don't understand, and we're not meant to understand all of it. Like, we get to explore it, and that's all the fun of the Bible, is exploring and learning and things like that. So we're never going to have enough answers to be completely impervious to questions about this or that. And there's going to be people who come up with things and they're going to make up arguments that aren't even accurate. And so I don't like starting there. Like, I don't want to say like, oh, well, I know the Bible well enough that I can't be shaken. That's not a great place to start because you can always be shaken. And honestly, I don't even really, and people might click out of this video for this, but I don't even really like to start with God, because in a low enough place, I can maybe start to doubt, like, is God even real? If I'm not hearing from him, if I'm not seeing him, like, if the evidence isn't surrounding me and I am just bombarded for long enough, my faith can be whittled down enough that I can't even say like, oh man, like, well, at least I know God's there. It's really easy to start to doubt that in some of those really deep, dark places. It's a really good part of a foundation. So I'm not saying that we shouldn't care about that, but like, if you get low enough, you can start to doubt that or the character of God or different things like that. So what I suggested is, for me, the root of my faith is in what God's doing, his mission and his purpose, what the Bible's telling me. There's truth in that. And what I mean by that is, when I read the Bible cover to cover, when I look at God's character, when I look at the narrative arc of the whole thing, all of the story is telling the story of how sacrificially loving others is going to make the world a better place. That we're meant to sacrificially love others, to, just that idea of sacrificial love is better for everyone involved. And to me, that is something that I've been able to stand on. And maybe it's not going to be the same for you. But when I think like, man, I feel like God has abandoned me. Okay, well, I'm convinced that sacrificially loving others is still going to be what makes me happiest, what's going to make the best life for me, what's going to make the best life for those other people that I am loving. It's what's going to soften the hearts of people that I don't like. It's what's going to change people's behavior. It's what's going to make a better life for my children, and then for their children, and for their children. Like, I see experientially, like, nothing can convince me that loving others isn't the best thing. Like, is it always going to turn around what I hope? No, it doesn't. But I have been a jerk to people, and I have been sacrificially loving to people, and I know which one feels better. I know which one has made better outcomes long term in my life. I know which one has changed people for the better. Like, you think about the stories that resonate with you the most. Like, when you read, like, for me, it's like the Lord of the Rings, and it's this story about like building this kingdom that's based on this generous love, serving others, that is just compassionate and healing and all of those things. Like, the story is like, when the world is ruled by this wise, generous, compassionate sort of worldview, it's a better place. A lot of people don't like Harry Potter because of the magic in it, but like, generally the story is that sacrificial love is the most powerful force in the universe, and it can, bring down the darkest of powers. It can stop the most, powerful attacks. Like, it's the most powerful thing in the world. And think about any story that really resonates. Like, this just rings true. And usually those ideas are at the heart of it. The movies we like best, the books that we like best, the fairy tales we like best, like, everything in our experience tells us that love makes the world a better place. And that's what the Bible's saying. Like, the Bible, when we get to Exodus, we see at the beginning of Exodus, God reveals himself by his name. But then later on in chapter 34, he's like, I'm going to tell you my true name. And it's the name he identified at the beginning, plus his character. And all the character things that are added onto the name are about love. He's the God who's nurturing in love, who is generous in love, who's patient in love, who is loyal in love, who is trustworthy in love, who has a justice system built on showing love. And Then we look at the world and we see all the things that are broken are because people aren't those things. And all the places where the world is getting better or where there's light in the darkness are because of those things. And as much as the world might try to convince me that that's not the case, it rings true in a way that nothing else can. When we really look at things, we see that love makes things better, and not loving makes things worse. Love makes me feel better. Not loving makes me feel worse. So I can experience it internally. I can see it around me. Like it's so built into our existence that you can't not see it. And then from there, that's where I come back to God. And what I'd told this person is like, I've had a very real experience with God. Like I've heard him calling me and directing me. I've seen times where I've prayed very specifically and gotten very specific answers. I've felt the Spirit moving in me. I've seen the transformation he's made in my life. And those are the things that I can see in my life the enemy wants to attack and say, like, don't, like, you just matured. That's why you changed. I'm like, I'm not very mature, but, I can at least, in my dark times, I can be convinced, like, well, maybe I just, maybe I felt like I experienced something, but I'm not hearing from God right now. So maybe I just kind of imagine that a little bit. Like my brain is able to justify those things away a little bit more in those really dark times, but not the other stuff. And so if I start with that other stuff and say, okay, I cannot deny that the world is built around the idea of generous, sacrificial love and nurturing. And then I come back to like, I feel like I've had these experiences and they line up with the God that is all the things that I experience in the world. That's kind of how I build my foundation. And I think a lot of people might push back on that because God isn't the very, very idea at the base of that, but really he is, because God is the God of love and of all those different types of love. And so even when I doubt that I've experienced him, then I go to like, but he's all around me. Like he is the fabric of the universe. His love is what makes everything come together. His love is what makes sense of the world around me. It's him that I'm seeing. And so really, yes, I am building that foundation on there is a God, but to me, I see the love that he has knit into everything, and that's the essence of who he is. And then I can come back to, so yes, I do believe that there is a God because I can see him all around me. And you know what? Yeah, I have had those experiences. I have prayed in tongues before. I have heard the Spirit whispering and guiding. I've had those experiences. And then I can come back from there. So for me, it all comes down to that love that is woven into every inch, every molecule, every moment of existence is his character. And so that's the foundation that I have my faith upon. And I feel like from there, it's really hard to shake that because you can't convince me that love isn't the best part of everything, because it's just, you feel it in your core that this is what I was made for. This is what fulfills me. This is how the world works. Like the world only operates by this, and everywhere it doesn't, it goes wrong. And so it's just this unshakable bottom is that God is love. Love is what makes everything and what fulfills everything and holds everything together. And from there, we can build on whatever other pieces and try to rebuild whatever faith we had that's been shaken and knocked down by circumstance or whatever the case may be. But that, to me, is that foundation. So that's what I at least responded to this person. Like I said, I don't answer the questions, I respond to them. And so that was my response to him, is that's where my foundation is. So if you have thoughts, questions, concerns, I'd love to hear from you guys so that we can maybe dialogue on this a little bit more. So leave your comments in the chat down below. Subscribe if you want to hear more questions, or put other questions in the chat if there's things you'd like me to address on here in the future. Share this with anybody somebody else who you think might enjoy or benefit from some of these responses to questions. Likes help other people find these videos as well so that we can help share God's word a little bit further. But for now, I appreciate you guys all being here. I appreciate you guys tuning in and being a part of what we're trying to do here, and hope this was a blessing for you. We'll see you next time. Thanks, everyone.